cocaine, cocaine, cocaine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do a
because
call,
that
get a gram, do a call, get a gram. That's it. That's how it was. Like the strip was here, the plug was here, and I was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all day, every day, up for day. Yeah, it was. And then he was bad psychosis where he was jumping out the window, our four-story friggin' apartment window, thinking I was trying to had guys to kill him, and it was a nightmare. Yeah.
welcome to the show, Melissa.
Nice, nice to have me.
Yes, and we met on TikTok,
We
and
did.
you've been creating there for a little bit. It took us a little bit to connect again 'cause you got banned
Yeah.
for a minute.
I'm always
It
getting banned.
happens to the best of us. Now, what's your clean date, Melissa?
I will be a year sober on the 23rd of January.
Look at you coming up,
Right?
coming up. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, 23rd of January. What was happening the 22nd of January of last year?
I was in jail. I
Oh,
was in I
okay.
was in jail. Yeah. Yeah. I was in
Canada,
jail.
right? Let's
Pardon?
get this in Canada, right?
I am. I'm in
Okay.
Ontario. Yeah, Northern Ontario.
Okay. And now when did you go to jail?
Late December.
Okay,
Late
so
December.
and how long did you spend?
I was there almost 4 months.
Oh, okay. But you stopped using while you were in jail.
Halfway through, yeah, halfway, yeah. There
So
was
it's
some
just
girls with some stuff, and
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I know it's easy, like in that's why I asked if you were in Canada because I know our jails, and I know our jails are flooded with drugs.
yeah. Oh, absolutely,
Here,
yeah,
and it's just as easy to get high inside as it is outside,
yeah,
if not
yeah,
easier, because everyone's there for the.
yeah.
You're not talking to cops. No one's undercover in the jails.
Right, right.
So usually they're not, and unless there's a narc in there trying to get some
Yeah,
taken off, and you get to be
yeah.
careful.
That happens. That
I'm
happens
sure
for
it does.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
okay, so you get in jail in December, and then you're still getting high. What
Yeah.
was it? What was it that?
Fentanyl, fentanyl.
What was
My
it that you said to yourself while you're in jail? Like, you know what? I'm not gonna do this shit anymore.
honest,
Yeah,
there was no
yes.
more drugs. We were on a COVID lockdown, so we were quarantined. So nobody's gonna sit on a package for 2 weeks to bring it on range, like you know what I mean. So yeah, the drugs just dried up, and
And
that's
you
pretty
and you had
well.
to you had to kick cold.
No, in case, so I'm not sure how it works in the States, but in Canada, they'll throw you on Suboxone, they'll throw you on methadone. They don't want dope
Of
sick
course.
girls in there, at
Of
least
course
for
they do in Canada.
right.
I
Yeah,
love your country,
I
like.
know, I know.
And I'm a big hockey fan, so like I'm already partial to love Canada to begin
Nice.
with. I've been up there a lot of times, and I just love, you know what I mean. I love
Yeah.
Niagara Falls. I love Toronto.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love Quebec City.
Yes.
I was just on a live podcast last night. Agree to disagree, and he's hosted his show out of where he lives in Quebec. So we had a lot of fun talking about Canada stuff last night. So, but
Who's your
anyway,
hockey team?
Flyers.
Okay.
But I also am a diehard Oilers fan too.
Okay.
Which is ironic because the Oilers beat the Flyers my first Stanley Cup that I was alive. I was born
Oh,
in
okay.
September of '86. Cut to June
Okay.
of '87. Wayne Gretzky and the Oilers beat the Flyers in the Stanley Cup
Yep.
in '87.
Yep.
So it's kind of ironic that I love the Oilers so much,
Yeah.
but I do. I've liked them for a really long time.
Yeah.
But anyway, I can always talk about hockey.
Me
But
too.
that's really cool. Though, what's your team? Is it these? It's not the Senators. It can't
Oh,
be the
okay.
Senators.
So I was
It's
diehard
Ontario.
Toronto my whole life. My
Yeah.
whole family's diehard Toronto. My
Well, the
baby
Senators didn't
dad.
come around until the '90s or
Yes,
whatever, right?
exactly.
And
Yes.
yeah. Well, they were one of the first
So
teams back in the day, and then they went away, and then they came back.
Ottawa's good. Like I give them that. Toronto, I was just so sick of defending them. Honestly, I'm so
Well,
I
it's been
flipped.
40 some years since they won a Stan 40,
Right?
50 years since they won a Stanley
Right?
Cup.
I
I think Jacques
know.
Plant was their goalie when they won a
It's
Stanley Cup the
like
last time.
I'm sick of defending them. So now I root for the Habs. I'm Canadians fan. So
Okay, I
yeah.
can respect that. I love
Yeah.
watching their games. I love watching Canadians games like in Montreal because it's so loud
Oh yeah.
at their stadium. What's it, M&T or something or I forget the name of their stadium off the top of my head. Bell Center. I think it's the Bell
Yeah.
Center.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it gets
Yes.
so loud in there.
Yeah.
I've been to Montreal to an Expos game back in the
Okay.
90s. I saw the Phillies and the Expos play in the old Olympic Stadium back in the
Oh
day.
wow.
And
That's
I've been
cool.
to the old Toronto Stadium, and I ate dinner at the Skybox that was
Okay.
inside of the old field of the Blue Jays back in
Yep.
the day.
Yeah. I was
But the
actually just at a Post Malone concert. Well, not just like
yeah,
before COVID. And yeah, that's where our hotel was. You could sit in the bar and like look at the Toronto, I mean the what are they? The Blue Jays? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I would
that
just
was super
my
cool.
episode today is with a guy who is from Massachusetts, but we talked about the first time he ever did heroin was in 1993, and it was the night that Joe Carter hit the home run against the Phillies, and
Okay.
he remembers watching that game as he was doing his first line of heroin. And I was like, oh man, there's so much pain behind this message, man.
Right?
Me as a Phillies fan and me as an addict.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going off on lots of
Yeah,
rants now.
we are.
All right, this is what happens, and this is why I like organic
That's
conversation.
okay.
So I'm really not shocked, and I'm pleasantly surprised that you guys get Suboxone. We do not.
Yeah.
It's a new thing that some of the jails, I believe, are starting to implement some kind of MAT program,
Yeah.
but I don't believe it's subs because they're too worried about what they'll do on the black market with them here. You know what I mean? Like, and they still want us to be in pain. Let's be real. Even the hospitals in America, if you go to the hospital, they won't give you Suboxone. They won't give you methadone. If you're taking,
Wow.
you have to. If you go there to say I went in addiction and I said to the hospital staff, I need help detoxing because I'm coming off fentanyl or coming off opiates,
Yeah.
they would say, okay, lay in the bed. We'll get you some water,
Oh.
and that's it. That's it. They don't get. I had a girl on my show, Ashley. She's been on 3 times now. She's talked about she almost died in the
Oh
bed
yeah, I have
because
seizures. Oh,
they weren't paying
absolutely.
attention to her and they weren't
Yep.
giving her meds. So
Yep.
the trick in America is if you're watching this and you're still in active addiction and you want to get help in a detox and you don't drink alcohol, drink some alcohol and go there. Tell
Oh,
them you're
that's
an
yeah.
alcoholic. If you tell them
Yes.
you're an alcoholic, then you're at risk of death and they're going to
Yes.
do any kind of treatment that they can
Yes.
to keep you
Yes.
comfortable. They're going to give you
Yeah.
knowledge of medicine. They're going to give you the meds that will help with all your opiates, but
Yeah.
really they're going to think it's for alcohol because you're going to pop dirty for alcohol. So
Yeah. Yeah.
a good drink, go into detox and tell them you're an alcoholic. It's the
But
best thing
isn't
you
that
can do.
terrible? Isn't it
So
terrible that there's such a stigma when it
terrible.
comes to drugs that, like, I don't
If
know.
it's
I
not
just,
going to kill you, we're not going to fucking help you.
right?
Xanax,
You can be
drug,
an alcoholic, but if you're a drug addict, cold turkey.
Xanax, they do help with because you can die from it, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Xanax,
Benzos. Yeah.
so Xanax, they will assist you with, and alcohol, they will assist you with. But if you're there for coke, meth, heroin, pills, kick rocks, you deal with it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
to you, motherfucker, deal with it.
Yeah.
That kind of dude. So I'm glad that you were able to get on Matt in there, especially
Yeah.
given your
I
situation.
was on Matt on road. Like I was on methadone since I was 17. So I'm 36. So I don't know, do the math. Yeah, my whole life I was on a methadone program. We have a really horrible epidemic. I know it's bad in the States, but right now, like everyone's dead. All my friends are dead. The fentanyl epidemic in our town it's a war zone right now. So yeah, everybody's
Suicides
on a
are also up
program.
in Canada too.
Oh,
Suicides are
absolutely.
exponential. That's what I was talking to Luigi about
Yes.
last night. In Quebec, there used to be a ratio of like 1 suicide or 2 suicides a month, and now there's like 15 to 17 a month or something
Oh
like that.
yeah. Yeah,
Like
very, very,
skyrocketing numbers.
yeah,
Scary numbers.
yes.
Okay, now we kind of talked about your history. Let's rewind back even further. So you started methadone at 17.
Yeah.
When did you discover drugs and alcohol then?
Very young. Alcohol, probably young teens, 14, 15. Then it was the Coke. And then Oxys came out. And that pretty well just it ruined my life.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was on a MAT program right away. I have 4 children. All my children were born on a methadone program. All went through the detox of it and everything. So yeah, I battled my disease for 20 years for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, if you could put on methadone at 17 though, how out of hand did it really it must have gotten crazy really
Oh, it was
fast for you.
unreal. It was unreal. And we didn't know, like, okay, so I was doing ecstasy and ketamine and all that stuff. And when you're up raving for like 5 days back in like early 2000s,
2000s, yeah.
and then somebody's like, yo, do an oxy, you'll come down and you'll sleep great and whatever. And then that was like, holy shit, they're addictive. I'm freaking dope sick. Like, oh yeah, it was like it was a huge we didn't know what we were doing pretty much.
Well,
So
and yeah, we're the same age. You know, you're a
yeah,
year older, so
yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. I didn't get into opiates until 2008. But I was a heavy drinker before then. So I'm aware of how, prevalent oxys were from
Oh
97 on.
God.
97
Yeah.
to 2009, everywhere you looked was oxy, OC this
Yeah,
and OC
yeah.
that, right?
They actually took them right off. There was a big class action lawsuit in Canada. I don't know if it's specific for Ontario, but they took the like OxyContin was completely gone. So that's when the IV drug use started happening in our city, because we switched from oxy, couldn't get the oxys anymore, so we're getting hydromorphs and morphine and all those, right? So you're not gonna, you got to smash them. And that's how the IV drug use for me started, was
Yeah.
the hydromorphs.
2009. In 2009 in America is when oxy went from OC to OP.
Okay.
That's when you couldn't crush an oxy anymore because
Yes,
it was like
yes,
gel tablets
yes,
and they
yes,
were the OPs instead of the
yes.
OCs.
That's how it was here
So
too.
okay, yep, 2009, and I
Yeah,
think by like 2010 it was really dry. That's
yeah.
when like people ran out of their leftovers kind of
Oh
deal, you
yeah,
know what I
oh
mean?
yeah, for sure.
So a lot of people were switching to either, if
Yeah.
you were really addicted to the pill, you were like me and you went to Roxy 30s. Or
Yes,
if you were
yes.
just straight up addicted, you went to dope. Let's be
Yeah,
real.
well, there was no down in Sudbury at the time. There was no actual legit heroin. It was all pills. It was all prescription pills. And then there was a huge fentanyl patch thing where everybody was smoking fentanyl patches, and they were like $600 a piece, and people were losing their houses. And that was our first experience in regards to fentanyl. So you could be on 150 mils of methadone. If you're smoking patches, you're still dope sick no matter what. So people were just, everybody was losing everything, right? So
Now, are you
yeah,
living with your parents as a
I
teenager when
am.
this is going on?
Okay, so I got into a relationship really young, that spanned about 13 years. He's the father of my two oldest girls. And yeah,
What is really young to you?
I was 15 and he
Okay.
was 20.
Okay.
So I left my parents' place. I hadn't been there since I was probably 16. We got our own place. It's totally a volatile relationship, domestic violence, all of it. But yeah, so I left. My mom knew what was going on. I think she kind of buried her head in the sand for a really long time, because as long as I
Are your
wasn't at
parents
home,
normies? Are your parents like
um,
normies or
like, well,
casual drinkers?
oh, heavy drinker. I shouldn't
Okay.
say that, but yeah, no, heavy drinkers.
But they're not like drinking to the point where they have like it's making their life unmanageable. You
Oh
know, there's
God,
a
no, no,
difference.
no, no, no,
The,
no,
the
no,
people
no.
can be a heavy drinker, but
Yeah,
they show up to
they're
work, they
function.
pay their
Yes.
bills.
Oh, yes,
And,
yes,
it
yes.
doesn't mean you're an alcoholic if you can
Yeah.
drink. It
Yes.
means
Yes.
you're an alcoholic if you're using that substance to escape. But if
Yes.
you're just like somebody who enjoys the drink and your bills are paid and your responsibilities are met and your life isn't unmanageable,
Yeah.
you're not an alcoholic, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can drink every day and not be an alcoholic, in my
Yeah.
opinion. It depends on why you drink and how the rest of your life looks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How you feel inside, how your body feels, and all that kind of stuff. But anyway,
Yeah.
so okay, I can see them being like, you know what? Are you the oldest or the only, or are
I'm
you
the
the
oldest. I have a
okay?
younger brother.
So that makes sense too, because that's why I
Yeah.
figure whenever you're the oldest or the only, it's more like we did our best.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and if you're the oldest, it's like we have another chance right here, and we did our
Yeah.
best, and we just got
Yeah.
to put our concentration on him now.
Pretty much. That's pretty much what happened. Well, I shouldn't say that. I had my daughter. My parents have been amazing. I had an amazing childhood. I grew up with I had every opportunity in the world to be a productive member of society, college paid, all of it. But I fucked up pretty much,
How
right?
can I ask how your brother is?
So my brother was an active addiction while he was in town here. Then he moved to Toronto about 10 years ago, and he hasn't come back. And he's probably alive because he hasn't come back, and he
That's cool.
won't come back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. That's good. At
Yeah.
least he knows, and at least he found a way
Yeah.
to like,
Yes.
not escape it, but find a way to live a happier life.
Yeah. Everybody's dead, right?
So yeah.
So yeah.
So you're
Statistically,
now
I should be dead.
yeah, now
Really.
you're with this dude, you're 15, he's 20. When did you have your first kid? At 16?
21. I had her at 21.
Oh, so you guys
So,
were together for 5, 6 years before you even had.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah, yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, but I was using the whole time. Then I got pregnant. I was on methadone. I kicked it. Um, Early pregnancy because I didn't want to get CPS involved, right? They were involved anyways, but that was really my worry is because if you're on methadone, you're getting a call to CPS if you're pregnant, right? So yeah, I stayed sober throughout my pregnancy, and then when she was born, I was back at it. And
Yeah.
she was 5 when my mom and dad took custody of her.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So now, how you said that relationship wasn't a good one, though.
Oh no, it was so he was violent and very mentally unstable. I just didn't know any different. I didn't know how to be me without him.
Yeah.
Um, and that was it was the hardest thing to get out of. I didn't want to be in that relationship for years and years and years, but I didn't know how to function without him being part of me, right? So, and he was a good dad. As much as how fucked up he was in his own addiction and all that shit, he was always good to my girls, right? So
When did you
yeah.
have your second kid? How old were you?
Mm. Cadence and Aria are 7 years apart.
Oh shit. So
So
you were like 28.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I left him when she was 4 months old and then moved in with somebody right away. Got pregnant first time we were together. So he adopted Fee. We call her Fee. He adopted my daughter, and we ended up getting pregnant with another Emily, my youngest. And that was the relationship that I thought first guy was bad. Oh fuck. Yeah, it was awful. It was awful.
The second one?
Oh yeah, it was um great guy when he's sober, but he gets really bad psychosis. So he struggled with mental health for a long time. So he would always be convinced that I'd have people hiding that were coming to get him, and then I would get it, right? So that's how that started, was the psychosis, and then it just yeah.
And you had one or two kids with him?
Just the one. Yeah.
Just the one.
Just
Okay.
the
Now,
girl, yeah.
how long did you stay in that relationship? Because you were 28 when you met him, right?
5 years. Yeah, I think 5 years. We
Okay.
lost our kids. We lost the kids. They were young. Emily wasn't even 2. And then we lost the house and we just took off. My parents took the kids and we just took off pretty much. And I was living out of trap houses and
You're not getting
um
arrested during this time, but
no,
you're
honestly,
just losing the kids because of people finding out
never.
that you're high and the kids are
Oh,
there.
okay. So my mom knew something was going on. We lived right next door to her, and Mark's mom lived across the street, and they knew something was up. I think they were really hoping we were going to get our shit together and pull through it, but we didn't. And my mom did call Children's Aid. So she took the kids. Children's Aid
She
showed
did for
up.
you what you couldn't do for
Oh,
yourself.
absolutely. I couldn't get out of it.
Yeah.
I wanted those kids gone so bad. Like, not, you understand
Not
what I mean.
gone, but
But
you
I wasn't
wanted them to be
safe.
safe.
I wasn't
Yes.
safe for them, and he was not safe for them. He was out of control. So I was so blessed that my mom stepped up and took them. And Children's Aid showed up. They were going to leave. They were like, "You got a beautiful house. There's food in the fridge. You're good." And I said, "No, I need help." So that's when we signed the girls over. And I was just supposed to go to treatment and then get them back. And that never ended up happening. It was about a 2-year relapse. Like, it was a 2-year run after the girls were with my parents.
Just trap house to trap house.
Oh yeah, like Mark was in and out of jail, and I was escorting, and yeah, he went to jail, and then my plug, who was also like my pimp, putting ads up and paying for cell phones and places and whatever, um, and then getting pregnant, and I thought it was my baby dad's, and it wasn't. It was, so the baby came out mixed race in the delivery room, and that was awesome.
That's how you knew.
That's how we knew. Yeah. So
For what it's worth, you're the second person also that has told me that, where
yeah.
they were expecting the baby to be the other
Yeah.
baby's dad, and then they
Yeah.
forgot that they were really drunk one night and slept with their boss at the Mexican
Yeah.
restaurant they worked at. So when the baby came out brownish, they knew.
Yeah.
They
But
knew.
honestly, Mark was involved. Like, he was making me do it. He was making me trade services to this guy.
I was gonna say that
for
he had to have known that you
Oh,
were
he was waiting in the
like
truck. He was waiting in the truck. Like he'd drive me there, make me go do it, tell me if I didn't come out with 2 bags, he'd bash my fucking head in.
that. So
And
he was trafficking you.
oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. If
That's
I was,
yeah.
yeah.
For those
Oh,
that don't
absolutely.
know, just giving them a ride and telling them to go in there is sex trafficking.
Oh yeah,
Like,
when I was like out on the street working, he was sitting across that street the whole time. If I was talking to other girls, he'd be like, "You just missed a fucking car, back to work." Like he pimped me out in every sense of the word. Absolutely.
and this was
Um
not your plug, but your
no,
baby dad.
yes, the father of Emily. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
And
okay.
it's unfortunate because he gets to walk away and get clean, and I have this stigma of that on me for the rest of my life, right? So that's the part that's really frustrating for me, you
Yeah,
know?
I like to try to take control back in being a stigma, right? And just
Yeah.
like kind of own it,
Yeah.
and
Oh, and
just
I
call
do. That's
myself a walking stigma because it's a lot
yes,
easier.
yes.
Because if I'm calling myself a stigma, you
Mhm.
can't hurt me with any of your stigmas.
Well, that's what I say. I tell my story so nobody else has to, right?
Yep.
And when I say that I have to live with this, it's pretty much regards to like the children's aid, like CPS. Um, they don't have that on him, They don't. I wasn't going around saying, "Oh, he was doing this to me and that to me," but they know everything that was going on in regards to sex work on my behalf, right? So that's the thing that's really frustrating for me is I'm in court trying to get our daughter back from him, and he's looking like a rose and I'm looking like so that's the part that's really frustrating for me at this point.
Which I can see. How long did you live that life of being trafficked,
two
basically?
years 2 years, yeah,
Was
two
it all
years
over the city or just all over like one part of Kent? Like, were you just like
It
all
was,
over the
oh, well, like,
Providence?
okay, so Mark, we would break up and I'd go back to the plug, and then he would bring me to Toronto or whatever. I worked in big cities a couple times, but normally there's one street, it's called Kathleen, all the girls work it, and that's it. That's just how it is here. Small town, right? So yeah, but
Okay.
yeah, it was about 2-3 years that I was doing it.
You getting arrested for it for
Oh
prostitution?
no, it's legal here. Absolutely not. No.
Oh, it
It's
is?
oh yeah, it's legal for sex workers. It's illegal for Johns. So the cops would follow the Johns. Like Mark would sit there and he'd watch me, and then the cops would, because people would call and be like, "She's being pimped the fuck out," and the
It's
cops would roll
so
up and
crazy to me then that the person that what the part of it that is illegal is the part of it that right now is just being allowed to skate right through, and
yeah,
the person who was doing
yeah,
something legally
yeah,
then, because it's not like you were
absolutely.
breaking a law,
Nope,
because I didn't
nope,
know that. Holy shit. Not like
no,
you were breaking a
no.
law, so like I don't see, you were just going to work.
I was just going to work, and exactly, that's exactly what it was. But I loved him and I was sick, and I would never have told what,
Dimed him
like,
out.
said
Yeah.
exactly, what would be the point? I'd be out there on my own. At least with him when he was there, the only thing that was positive is that nobody was going to hurt me, right? Because he was there, and yeah, that was yeah, that was the only good part about it.
And that's what happens too. And
Hmm.
meanwhile, you're still are you now an IV user?
Oh yeah, IV cocaine is what spiraled us completely out of control. I was
Now,
addicted the first time I did it.
okay. Now I know that people go one or two ways when it comes to that because like you have the people that get completely emaciated from
Yeah,
that,
oh, I
or
was,
you
yeah.
oh you were?
Oh, I was 90
Okay.
pounds. Yeah, yeah.
Holy shit.
I contracted hepatitis C within the first couple months of IV drug use. Yeah, it
I'm gonna
was
need you to
very,
send me over.
very.
Do you have any pictures? Like before and
Uh,
afters?
yeah, I could find some. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely, for
cool.
sure.
Yeah, because that's I always think whenever I think of Canada and crack, I think of the old mayor.
Yeah. Oh, poor Doug Ford. Or is it Rob Ford? It's Rob
Rob
Ford.
Ford.
Yeah, Rob
Rob
Ford.
Ford.
His
Yeah.
brother is his brother's our premier right now. So yeah,
Oh,
he's
really?
Doug Ford. Yeah, he's a
Okay.
character too.
No, yeah, I always think of Rob Ford. And I
Yeah.
had somebody on my show talking about smoking crack in Canada with their boss.
Oh
And
yeah, it's
and
so
so I
common
found a
here.
bunch of pictures of Rob Ford and I had him on the screen because it made me laugh so hard to think of
Right.
the pictures
Yeah.
of him in the motel room smoking
Right.
are some of the funniest pictures you're ever gonna
I
see on the
know.
internet. Poor Rob Ford. Okay, so
Yeah.
now
So sorry, go ahead.
you're shooting. Is it crack cocaine?
It was just soft
Coke.
like cocaine. Yeah,
Coke.
powder
Okay.
cocaine.
So you're shooting coke now. Like you're not even doing opiates now because you
No, not at all.
walk the streets, right?
Yeah, there was no point of doing opiates. I was up. No, yeah, no, it was all cocaine, cocaine, cocaine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do a
because
call,
that.
get a gram. Do a call, get a gram. That's it. That's how it was. Like the strip was here, the plug was here, and I was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all day, every day, up for day. Yeah, it was. And then he was bad psychosis where he was jumping out the window, our four-story friggin' apartment window, thinking I was trying to had guys to kill him, and it was a nightmare. Yeah.
Was his psychosis brought on by meth?
No, it was the IV cocaine.
It was
Yeah.
okay. I mean,
Oh
cocaine
yeah, it was
because
cocaine psychosis. Yeah.
yeah, that was my next. I wasn't sure, but still, like that kind of wild psychosis. Yeah, I
Oh, it
was
was
thinking.
unbelievable. He turned into a different person. I had no idea who this man was.
But you
Um,
said, yeah, and plus, if you already have any kind of mentally unstable
oh
thing,
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
regularly being
yeah,
sober, it's just going to
yeah,
intensify
yeah,
exponentially if you
yeah,
just incorporate that in
yeah.
there. So you're not getting arrested for this,
No, not at all. No.
which is and never. What about? Did you ever have never got arrested for like possession either?
I
Because
have never. The first time I went to jail was when I went to jail. I'd been in on the weekend, in the holding cell or whatever. But
yeah,
no, when I was on range, that was the first time that I've ever sat there in the bucket. Yeah, I'd
and
never been to jail.
we're gonna catch up to that because my other question is is it because you never had drugs on you for long enough to get arrested for it? Like, were you always just getting enough to get by in that
Yeah.
moment?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
No, I never had large quantities of drugs. Never,
that's
never,
why.
never.
Okay,
If I had drugs, I was doing them. Like I was so, yeah, no, no, it was always, if I had $50, I was getting a 50 piece and I was doing it and
yeah.
going, yeah,
So that's a long couple years doing that now.
yeah.
But that takes you to your mid-30s. Now, when you last December, what did you get arrested for?
Human trafficking. And there was 9 charges associated with human trafficking. And then I got charged with trafficking of fentanyl and trafficking of cocaine.
Okay, we definitely skipped over something now, I feel like.
Yeah, that all happened afterwards.
Okay, so
Yeah.
okay, so you were trafficked for a couple years, like we
Yeah.
just talked about.
Yeah. So
Now you're 33. Right?
yeah. Yeah.
What happens at 33 that changes?
Okay. So me and Mark broke up. He got clean. I got clean. I got back into my kids' lives. I was living at home with my parents.
Now,
Um,
why did you both get clean then?
I left. I went to the shelter. I went to the domestic violence shelter.
You just had enough.
I was gonna kill myself. Yeah, I was gonna die.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very we were living in this roach infested little room with a mattress, and he was overdosing all the time, and it was just I had to leave.
Yep.
Yeah, I had to leave. And then he left. He got clean, and I never talked to him again. I haven't talked to him. It was literally we parted ways and never spoke again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you got clean, did you go to a rehab or you just go home?
No, I just went to the shelter, and then my mom and dad, I reached out to Children's Aid about seeing my kids. And when my mom got comfortable with Children's Aid being comfortable, that's when she started letting me come home. My son had been adopted. He was apprehended at birth, right? So
Yeah.
my son had been adopted by a family friend of ours. She took him right from the hospital. Um, my mom is such a saint. Like I hadn't seen her in years, 2 years or whatever. She just caught wind that I had the baby and showed up at the hospital. She had already had 3 other kids, and she showed up at the hospital to take him home. And they were ready. The foster mother was there and everything. And my mom called a lawyer, and he said, "Go get him." So my mom went and got him, and she waited until the friend was approved by CPS, and then Jamie took him, and her and her husband have raised him, and he thinks I'm his aunt. He knows he grew in my tummy, but he calls me Auntie Mel, and I get to watch him grow up, and we have him
It's
all the
beautiful.
time. So yeah, I'm blessed. Very
It worked
blessed.
out. Yeah, it definitely worked
Absolutely.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah.
And like
So
you said, your parents have been great this entire time, which is
you have
so
no,
amazing because a
yeah.
lot of and I'm like you where I came, from parents that have been together for 40 years, right?
Mine
They
too,
met in early
37, yeah.
80s.
Yeah, mine
And
too.
they got married in 85 and they had me at
Yes.
86 when they were
Me too,
23.
bro. Me too.
Yep.
Same thing.
Yep,
Oh,
they were,
that's so funny.
yeah. So my parents, and they're still very happy to this day.
Mine too.
I just
Yeah.
hung up with being on the phone with my dad for like a half an hour.
Yeah.
When you were messaging saying you were ready, I was on the phone with my
Yeah.
dad because we're like
Yeah.
best friends.
Yeah.
And that's how, and I'm glad, and we're very fortunate because there's a lot of people that I talk to that are like us but don't have that support,
Oh,
right?
my mom, like, if I wanted help, if I was dead, like, if she'd give me a shot, no matter
Yep.
what. Even when I was in active addiction, and she was still coming to my dad would be bringing my girls for an hour at my apartment, and just so I could see my girls consistently. They didn't have to do that. They
No,
knew I was
that's
using, but they went
yeah.
did the supervised
Well,
visit,
they
and
were trying to give you a reason
a reason
to
exactly.
they
And
were like, look at what you're missing out on, Mel.
right, right,
Like you
right.
could
And
be
then I
having
got
this too.
Yeah. And then I got arrested, and they were so happy that I got arrested. And they weren't going to bail me out. They weren't going to help me get out. They wanted me to sit. They put money in my canteen every Friday. They made sure I had everything I needed. They let me talk to my kids. I talked to my mom every day. She was a soldier through that whole thing. She was
That's
scared
awesome.
initially
Way
because
to
the
go,
charges
mom.
are, yeah, she's a saint.
That's
Absolutely. Yeah,
all right.
for sure.
Now, so but we're skipping.
Yeah, we
And
are.
because you got clean and
Yeah.
you went to the shelter and you got clean
Yeah.
and you're 33, you're doing pretty good.
Mm.
How long did you stay pretty good?
Never, not at all. I
Okay, so
was
you went to the
not at all.
shelter. You went to the
Yeah.
shelter.
When I
Now,
stayed
when you're at the
clean,
shelter, yeah,
yeah.
go
So,
ahead.
oops. So it was about 6 months of, okay. So I stayed at the shelter. I was trying to get an apartment. I had to pay off what I owed to subsidized housing to get into
This
housing, right?
episode is sponsored by MJ's Progress Not Perfection Meeting Center Association. We are in our meeting center where we do all these meetings for mental health and addiction. I can do this podcast anywhere. I can do this at home. I can do this in a closet. I can do this in a basement. It doesn't matter. All I need is somebody else to talk to about addiction and recovery. What I can't do from anywhere is help people with their addiction and their mental health problems. So if you can help out, we do have a Venmo, we have a Cash App, we have a PayPal, we have an address you can send a check to, and all the money that gets donated goes towards rent, goes towards keeping the lights on, and goes towards keeping the internet on. So please, if you can give $5, $10, $20, it doesn't matter. Anything you can is so appreciated. And if you are a local business, if you're a national business, whatever, and you want to be a part of what we're doing, you can reach out to me and we can talk about how you can be a sponsor. But I'll let you get back to the episode.
So I stayed there, paid it off, and then got out and relapsed. But nobody knew. I was doing it on the DL. I was only doing it once a month. I'd get my disability check. I'd go to my apartment. I'd use, come home the next day, and have that to look forward to. That's what it was for the longest time, almost 2 years, I think, or a year and a half. And then COVID hit, and we were getting all this money. They were just giving us money. Like, I got 16 grand from the government, and that's when I fell right off. My parent, I was using in the house. I was yeah, it was bad, and they kicked me out. Yeah, so yeah, and then it was the fentanyl. I got into the fentanyl,
So
and
when they kicked you out, where did you go?
I had an apartment. I've always had an apartment that I keep. It's only $100, right? I'm in subsidized housing. So even right now I have it, but I live with
Oh,
my
okay.
girls. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they kick you out, you go back to your apartment. Now
Yeah.
that you're really alone, now you can really just let go
Oh, it
because
was
no
awful.
one's,
Yeah.
no one's supervised. You don't have to like stay looking good for
No.
anybody or
No,
stay
no,
looking
yeah.
even.
Yeah. So
So
that's
then you discover fentanyl for real fentanyl,
yeah,
not the patches
real
like they were
fentanyl.
10
No,
years ago.
car fentanyl, yeah.
Yeah, so now when you find that,
Yeah.
is that when you meet any new plugs that, people
Oh,
that you shouldn't
yeah,
be meeting?
absolutely. And that's when the sex work started again. I was robbing everybody. Yeah, it was terrible. I was
Oh, like going on
overdosing.
going on dates just to rob them?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, robbing Johns, robbing anybody, fuck. Anybody who had money and dope, I'd be robbing them. And
And this is during COVID. Did you get COVID at all?
no, no. No, we're not. We're in Northern Ontario. Right now we have lots of cases, but we were really low
Oh,
the whole
yeah,
time.
okay.
Yeah, no, no, yeah. Um,
Again,
So
small town.
yeah, small town, right? So that whole time I was overdosing all the time. And I called my aunt. I had a bad overdose where it took like 12 Narcans to get me going again.
Were you using with other people, and that's how you kept getting revived?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was getting,
Okay.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So my aunt showed up at my house, my dad's sister, and she took me to the hospital. She took me to the psych ward. And I stayed in the psych ward for 3 months. And I have really bad PTSD, right? So I have really bad flashbacks. So I was having a hard time sleep. Like I wouldn't sleep. I'd be up for days and days and days. And the only way I would sleep was when I would crash and I had to sleep, like physically had to sleep. Other than that, I couldn't be alone. I'd be panicked so bad that I'd be like vomiting. So I went to the psych ward and I got 13 rounds of shock treatment. And that saved my life in regards to my mental health. My flashbacks are like minimal now, totally manageable. Yeah, so I stayed in the psych ward 3 months, got out, relapsed, went on a tear for a while, and that's when I got arrested.
So during this tear, you started doing sex work again,
Yeah,
and I guess
yeah.
you met a John that. Can you get into it all or no?
Yeah, okay, so at my apartment there was just everybody, like we're all drug addicts hanging out,
It's a trap
pooling
house
our,
that's it's a
yeah, it was a
trap house
trap
that's
house.
getting paid for. Like trap houses aren't
Absolutely.
paid for, so it's a trap house that's paying the
That's
bills.
absolutely. So we had, the guys were robbing people and ripping everybody off. The girls were doing sex work. And then there was just this one girl who was like, you get fucking smoking my dope all the time. I'm not feeding you fucking crack, bud. Pull weight. And that's the human trafficking.
Oh,
So
because you told somebody, hey, you can't smoke my shit unless you're giving us some money.
fucking right, bud.
So, and then
Yeah.
she took that as, oh, I need to do
Oh,
some sex work too. So
yeah. So
now that makes you implicated because you advised her to go do that and how to
yeah,
do
showed
it
her
or
how. Yes.
where to go and
And the
how to do it.
trafficking, so that when they got me for trafficking of fentanyl, and this is fucked. So because she would do a call, I would take her money and then I would go buy dope. That's the trafficking. Because I went and got dope for her and brought it back to her. That's the trafficking. How fucking stupid is that?
And it's just you and a friend using with each other and getting
Bro,
each other's back.
she was doing the same thing. I'd give her money and she'd go down and meet
Yeah,
the plug. And so,
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, so yeah, and I totally see that. It's almost like harm reduction, like you're using together and you're watching each
Right.
other's backs.
Right. And
And
because
I
we were
could see,
overdosing all the time, we didn't want to use alone. That was the whole
yeah,
point. That's harm reduction.
yeah,
Like,
and I could see how you would be implicated as in because and only because of like you giving direction. And
oh
it was
yeah.
only you just being a friend and being like, "Oh,
Yeah.
no, you don't want to do it that way. I did it that way for years and I
Yes.
wish I would have known this way because this way is
Yes.
a lot easier." And
Yes.
all you're doing is just giving some advice from like
Yeah.
an old timer who had been there.
And that's when
But
I say, like in my content, I say there's a huge umbrella of human trafficking charges. When I was out on bail and the Crown was comparing me to these guys in Toronto putting guns to girls' heads and beating the shit, how are you going to compare me to that? It's like, it's a spectrum, bro. I'm on the other end of it. You can't, you know what I mean? But because of who my baby dad is, and he did 7 years, he's doing 7 years for human trafficking. He showed me the ropes. And because they know that, they got me. They made an example of me and made me sit. So yeah.
yeah, and and to their credit, there are plenty of women that are madams.
And because they don't want to be doing it themselves. That's what I said. Okay. When women
But
do these
madams don't fuck.
offenses,
Yeah,
pardon?
madams don't fuck. Madams aren't,
But madams started as escorts.
and then they
All of
became
them.
madams. Exactly.
They
Yep.
don't, when women do these offenses, it's very rarely just for profit. It's because, like, honestly, I even had the idea, fuck, brothels are legal in Canada. I could keep my girls safe. I know what to do. Like, it
And it's
It's
such a gray area,
frustrating.
and it's such a gray area since prostitution
Yes.
is legal.
Yes. Right.
That what's the difference to you owning a house and letting girls, work out of the house as opposed
Yes.
to you giving a ride?
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
that gray area of you giving roof, whether it was the car or the house. And it
Right.
is such a gray area since prostitution is legal.
Right.
And, because the United States, it would be, and I think that's why you get so much hate,
Yes.
because people in the United States don't understand. Have you made, because like I said, I don't learn too much about you before we talk.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch a lot of your content yet. I've seen some that caught my attention, that, for me to say, hey, let me learn more about you, but I didn't
Yeah.
watch all of it.
Yeah.
Have you talked about how prostitution is legal in Canada?
Oh yeah.
I don't know, I didn't know this, and I think
oh,
it's important that people in our country know that it is, because I think that would make your light a little bit better in a
mhm.
sense that in America, if you were doing that shit here, Mel, you would be guilty as fuck, because prostitution
Absolutely.
is illegal. You can't do
Absolutely.
that. You
Yeah.
can't do this. So there's no gray area. It's
And
black
that's
and
what I'm
white.
trying to get across to these people.
Yeah.
It's like there is a huge, it's like with sex offenses, and this is what I compared it to. You could be the guy who molested his kids, or you could be the guy who whipped out his dick and took a piss in the park and still get a fucking sex charge. You know what I mean? It's the same fucking thing. I
It
wasn't
is.
forcing nobody to do nothing, bro. And I am pleading guilty to what I was guilty of. But that's it.
Yeah.
Like I did threaten to kill her. I'll plead to that. But you know what I mean? I'm not pleading to fucking human trafficking. That wasn't what it was. And when I said that on TikTok, I did it for my own. I just needed to fucking talk about it, bro. I just needed to, and even just to raise awareness, to put that initial video out and say, listen, I was trafficked, and then hurt people, right? And now I can make videos and say, okay, if this is what you might be in a human trafficking situation right now. Here are the red flags. That's raising awareness. If I didn't give a fuck about girls that are in that industry, I wouldn't be doing that. It saved my life. There was so
Yeah.
much good that came out of this. It was because I went 36 years without fucking getting in trouble. My friends were all in and out. My baby dads were all in and out of jail.
People are dying.
Everybody's dead. Everybody's dead.
The
My
kids are
buddy,
safe. The kids are
yeah,
safe with your parents.
exactly.
You're not hurting anybody
So
but you
I was never hurting anybody but myself, and
until
that's
you did.
until I did. But it saved my life. If I
Yep.
hadn't gotten arrested, I would be dead by now. There was one time where I was doing fentanyl, and I don't even remember. I don't know
Shit, if
how
it
I
wasn't for
got out.
COVID,
Oh,
you'd be dead right now.
yes,
Think about
yes,
that shit, because then you still would have been in
yes,
jail getting high, Mel. If it
yes,
wasn't for
yes.
COVID drying that place out,
Yeah,
you would still, if it you needed
yeah,
that Suboxone and whatever, you
yeah,
needed that little bit of clarity, that couple days here and a couple days there to go, oh, I am fucking up. I can do this
yeah,
differently.
yeah,
So if it wasn't for COVID, a fucking worldwide pandemic killing 800,000 people
yeah,
saved your life.
yeah. Absolutely.
So it's not even you going to jail. You being in jail helped during COVID because you wouldn't have been dried up.
Yeah,
Let's be real. You weren't in jail. Obviously you were able to get high during COVID. So
yeah,
it was just the combination of jail and COVID that saved your life.
yeah. Oh,
You know?
absolutely.
So
And
jail any time you would have kept using.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure. But okay, so even like when you go in there, it's survival mode, right? So you become a completely different person. And when I was in there and I was seeing these girls who are frequent flyers that go in there for, 12 months or whatever, and then back on road and then back in, but I don't want to be a 50-year-old crackhead. I'm sorry, but I don't want that life, bud. I don't want my 15-year-old child to be embarrassed because she has the same last name as me, right? Because I'm out on the strip shaking my ass trying to make money. And I was looking, and because I was clear-headed and clear-minded and level-headed, and I was looking at these girls going, fuck, I don't want this anymore. And it saved my life.
That's
And there's
amazing.
something else I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So when I was on methadone since I was a teenager, and when I got released from jail, my mom, because she knew I was sober, she let me come home. She let me see the kids, and she said, if you want to give it one last shot, We're taking you to camp. You're going on Suboxone so you can get it out at the little town and wherever we are. So I switched to Suboxone and something just changed. It was like the receptors were blocked in my, because that's what it does, right? It blocks the receptors in your brain if you're at a good level, a good dose that crave the drugs. So I'm on Suboxone for a couple, like maybe a month. And the pharmacist out at my cottage said, why don't you go on Sublocade? Then you don't have to come here all the time. It's a once a month injection. I'm like, what? The fuck are you talking about once a month?
Yeah, it's like
She's
Vivitrol,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
So now I'm on Sublocade and I don't have to go to that methadone clinic anymore. No more urine samples, no more fucking triggers from those people. I don't mean to say those people, but I turn into a different human being when I'm down there around them, right?
I get it. I used to doctor shop, and when you walk into the waiting room of those, when they used to be the pill mills back in the day, a decade ago, and when you say those people, I know exactly what you mean, and it's just it's our people, right?
It's our
those people are our people.
All right, yeah, and
we were those people
down there talking about who got punched out, who's in jail, who just got jacked. I don't want to talk about that shit. I don't want that life. I don't want to be that Melissa. Yeah. That Melissa didn't do fucking nothing for me my whole life. So now that I don't have to go there anymore, and that 17 years tied liquid handcuffs to that place.
Yeah,
so I feel
methadone can be very beneficial, but only for a short period of time.
Yeah.
Right? Like anything else, it can run out, and it will. And that's the problem, is you can still get high the entire time. While
I did, yeah.
And that's the other problem with Suboxone. It's a lot harder, and plus the craving difference with the craving, the huge deal.
Yes.
I know somebody that went 18 months on a Vivitrol shot. He was on my show, a good buddy of mine, and for 18 months he got a shot, and then he stopped, and it's been 5 years, and he's still clean and sober, and hasn't had or a thought about drinking or a drug.
That's amazing.
So, amazing. Some of the things that people can do with Matt is amazing.
Yeah.
And the things that are attached to it, just wear it. There's going to be people talking.
It's the lesser of all evils, bro. It is.
Yeah, I'm so over the stigmas of, oh, you use cannabis, you use Suboxone.
Fuck off.
Yep, jinx.
Honestly, you have nobody has the right to tell you about your own recovery journey, bro. I don't go to AA. I don't fuck with the steps. I don't do anything like that. But I got my own program. TikTok is part of my program.
And it can be. And it's a huge recovery network. It is your meeting. This is a meeting. I know you don't fuck with AA. I do. I fuck with the steps. I used to. Yeah, and I think the steps are extremely beneficial for anybody, not just an alcoholic or an addict. But, when it comes down to it, no one came to my AA meeting at 9 a.m. today, Mel. So this is my meeting, a one-on-one conversation of one alcoholic talking to another, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I went to AA for a really, really long time. I love the program.
My wife do. What is that? Shadow work. That's her program. Shadow work, like that.
I've never heard of it.
Craft meditation kind of shit.
Okay.
Like that realm of being like a witchcraft kind of thing.
Yeah.
She's been doing shadow work since she got sober, and we're coming up on 2 years in February.
Wow,
Oh, and I haven't touched it in 4 years in April. So I had a relapse from I got clean from opiates in April 2018, and I stopped drinking as well. And I was using cannabis the entire time, but
you don't anymore?
No, I still do.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't know if I didn't tell you. I don't get high.
Yeah.
Smoke weed. I can't smoke weed anymore. Yeah. One, I wanted to change my relationship. That was the whole point of using cannabis, right? Was to change my relationship with it. So like I used to smoke to get high right away, to escape right away. I used to sniff pills to escape right away. To chug and not just sip my drink to escape away. So now I microdose with the capsules, not even edibles, but capsules. I take them with my blood pressure medicine. You know what I mean? And it works its way through my system when it needs to. It's not something that I escape with right away.
Is it legal where you are?
I'm a medical marijuana patient in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
On top of that too, the other thing is 9.5 years of being addicted to roxycodone. I never did heroin because I loved pills so much. And
Me too,
mentioned on 30s for 9.5 years with a job the entire time. Like owned a company, a family business.
You can function. You can definitely function.
I was sniffing them the entire time too.
Me too. Yeah.
I was addicted to sniffing as much as I
Me
was.
too.
You know, I would be like line up like 630s in a row and just like just gonzo.
You remember that oxy hangover that you would get? Did you ever get that the next day with the headache and everything because you just snorted way too much oxy?
Yeah,
the
and
night
then
before?
then you do more though.
Then you do more. Exactly.
But yeah, but I also was withdrawing a lot in 9.5 years. So every time I withdraw, I threw up bile and a lot of bile. And like to the point where into 3 years at post opiates, I had to lose my gallbladder because it stopped functioning because all the bile I lost over the years. And I like a lot of stomach tissue where my gallbladder is because it started eating away at the stomach tissue. So I have permanent damage there. And when I smoked cannabis, it makes me cough, obviously. And then there's that runs from your stomach to your spine and it hits the back of my stomach where there's no tissue to protect it anymore. And it hurts like a motherfucker. So I don't smoke for a bunch of reasons now, besides the fact that, you know, escapism. It's also that it physically hurts me and I don't do things that make my life unmanageable anymore.
Right. Absolutely.
If I was to continue smoking, even though it physically hurt me, I would consider myself an addict because
that's
it's making my
behavior.
It's
that's
making
addict
my life
behavior.
manageable, and I'm still doing it.
That's addict behavior for sure. Yeah.
No, that's the part of step one that I focus on the most. It's not that my life was I was powerless. It's that my life was unmanageable. Yeah, I was powerless. I was powerless because my life was unmanageable.
Yes.
People always forget, and the other people that aren't addicts don't know. They always say the first step's always admitting it. It's like it's fucking not. You know what I mean? It's really not. It's about understanding the first step and understanding where your unmanageability comes into it. You know, that's why I think this step because it's not about the drug. It's about finding new solutions to our life. Your problem wasn't that you were shooting coke all day long. Your solution to your problems was shooting coke all day long.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I had to be high because I couldn't
live with yourself.
Live with myself, that my kids weren't with me. That's why it was like, gotta numb. Because if I was sober, then I'm thinking about these babies being without their mom and dad. You know what I mean? And that for me, I couldn't. That was always the root of my shit. So
people get sober and they quickly forget. You know, we pick up our cliches and our phrases when we get sober, right?
Yeah.
And one of those is one day at a time, right? We hear it all the time, but I don't know what it is, but everyone quickly forgets that one day at a time is how we lived our life, our entire lives.
Yes.
It was, you know, how many times were you getting high and you're like, I don't need this. I could use this first thing in the morning to jumpstart my day, but fuck it. I'll figure that out tomorrow. I'm going to get high now.
Oh,
that's living one day at a time.
Right? Could you wake up to dope? I could never wake up to dope. I was doing that bag that night and I'd figure it out the next day.
Yep, you figure it out.
But there's some addicts that'll just stoosh a little bit so they're not sick in the morning. Fuck that. I was never like that.
My motto was that's tomorrow JD's problem.
Exactly.
You know how many times I said that's tomorrow JD's problem?
Yes.
You know, and I was driving 2 hours to get my pills. In the last 3 years of my addiction, I was driving 2 hours dealing with Philly traffic just to go grab and then drive back again. Ooh. And the problem is too our ego, because like I remember one time I was paying this dude to drive out to me because I was too sick to do the drive, and I could afford to have him drive to me if I paid him $100.
Oh,
you know, and so and he's a younger kid, so he was going to take the $100 and get some free pills out of it. Yeah. So you know, I know that I had 20 pills coming to me, right? And I'm doing the math. I'm like, all right. You're always doing that math. You're like, all right, always. I'll do 2 right away and I'll feel good again. Like I won't be high, but I won't be hurting. And then I'll have a lot to wake up to. I'll get super fucked up tomorrow. And then I'm going to maintain with the other one. And I'm doing the math of how I'm going to space it out.
Yeah.
But then my ego came into play because the dude rolled in and he had a buddy with him. He told me he was going to have a friend drive with him because it was a late night. And I said, that's fine. I don't care. And he gets out of the car and he goes, hey, I'm going to smoke a blunt. I said, yeah, you can smoke a blunt. And, you know, we're in my garage. And he was like, oh, by the way, I told my buddy how you could sniff 6 in one line. Do you want to show him? And, of course, my ego's like, line them up, man. I'm, like, taking 630s and banging them up. to do
fuck,
fine,
bro.
because like some people record themselves having sex. I had so many videos of me doing lines on my phone that I was my Snap, my Snapchat history, before I got clean was a lot of pictures of pills, a lot of pictures
Yeah,
of
yeah,
broken up lines and shit, me
yeah.
doing lines. Like that's what I
That's
recorded.
that's how we were with cooking. Like, cause okay, so the IV cocaine, the IV drug use, I couldn't do it anymore. I was covered in track marks, no veins. I couldn't hit nothing. I'd be hours of just trying to fucking blood everywhere. So I switched to crack.
Did you have to mainline that, right?
Crack? I
No,
smoked it.
coke.
Yeah,
Coke.
yeah. Oh yeah.
You can't just go into
You
the
can't muscle
flesh.
it. No, no,
Muscle.
no,
Okay,
no,
that's
no,
because,
no,
like I said,
no. Yeah.
I never did, IV. I was always
Yeah.
a
No, you
sniffer.
have to hit a vein. You got to pull blood. And
Because
I would,
dope you can put anywhere, right?
yeah, you can
Dope you can
muscle
hit
it. Yeah.
anywhere. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
But
Morphine and
people you
shit.
see
Yeah.
with when you see abscesses on people, people that don't know, when you see the abscesses, it means they're shooting into muscle with something that they shouldn't be shooting into muscle with, like
Oh,
crack or
you should
meth.
see the big fucking thing on my arm from.
I'm correct, right? When I say
Yes,
that,
you
that's
are.
what.
Yes, you
Okay.
are. Yes, yes, you are.
Okay.
Absolutely. But yeah, so I switched to crack, and that we were talking about your ego. I thought I was the best cook in the fuck. We would have cook-offs, bro. There'd be 10 of us at the stove, fuck, trying to cook. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how that's fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
bro, you know? Like, I'm good at singing. I can play the piano. I can cook crack real good. Like, right? The fuck kind of thinking is that?
I know, but it's because we're around the people that do it.
Yeah.
So it's
I
such a
love those
shameful
people.
thing. Yeah, but it was such a shameful thing of getting high. But when you were good at something and you knew other people weren't going to judge you for what you were doing, but they would judge you for
Yeah.
how you're doing it,
Yeah.
you knew you could show off for those people.
Yeah. And you're getting
Anybody
free
else that would
dope.
watch me fucking rail 180 milligrams in a second would look
Yeah.
at me like, you need some fucking help, bro.
Not
But
these
these guys
guys.
are like cheering me
Root
on.
you
Yeah, motherfucker.
on.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the difference is, and then you put yourself in those situations to be around those people that will be your cheerleader because we're
Yeah.
so fucking broken. Like you said,
Yeah.
you want to commit suicide. I have plenty of times where that almost happened for me too, and my dog saved my life.
Yeah.
And so I totally get that. So you find the moments. It's like looking back on any toxic relationship. We're gonna find the moments to cheer about and that make us.
Yeah.
And then you have to also, when you look back at that toxic relationship, you have to find the moments that make you say, "Oh yeah, that's why I left. Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
that's why
yeah.
I'm not with that
Yeah.
person or drug anymore."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all it is was a toxic relationship
Yeah.
with a substance.
Mhm.
So I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing now with your TikToks. Like, what gave you the
Yeah.
idea to start making TikToks?
Honestly, I started doing it because of the residential school thing that was going on here, and them finding the bodies and all of that, right? Are you
I,
educated on that
yeah,
at
I know
all?
what happened
Okay.
with like the Native American, not Native Americans, Native.
Indigenous, yes,
Yep.
indigenous, First
Thank you.
Nations.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's where it just started, because a lot of times when I was in active addiction, because of the generational trauma and intergenerational trauma and all that, it was First Nations people that I was using with. And when I was homeless and
Are
stuff,
you
it was
First
them.
Nation?
Yeah, my
Part?
mom is. So yeah, that's just how the TikTok thing started. Me and my daughter put like a Every Child Matters thing for Canada Day, and so I was just videotaping it. And then I'm watching all these recovery creators, and I'm like, fuck, I could fucking do that shit.
Your algorithm gave it to you because you were looking
Yes.
back at stuff on your.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
See,
Yes.
people hate
Yes.
on algorithms and they hate their phones tracking them. I love my phone tracking.
Yeah.
I hit yes and allow my cookies on every single fucking
Yep.
one because you're
Yeah.
gonna get ads and you're gonna show me shit regardless. And I
Yeah.
remember the '90s, and I remember watching commercials that I fucking hated and saying to myself, I wish I could just fucking pick my commercials. You can pick your
Right.
commercial now, people.
Yeah.
Just say yes to the cookies because that shows you it's smart, it's intelligent. It shows
Yeah.
to where you said, "Oh, I can tell my story now."
Yeah. And then it just kind of like, I was getting like a really good feedback, and then there was a couple of months in the summertime where it was just back to back overdoses from people that we had grown up with. So that's when I started to make the videos in regards to, because the epidemic here, there's a campaign, and there's about 400 white crosses for every overdose this year. And I would go down to the crosses and videotape, and my friends, they were all people I know and people I grew up with. So that's when the recovery shit started. And I was raising awareness about the overdoses and what was going on in my community and putting it on Facebook. I was getting this amazing feedback. People that like burnt bridges that I fucked over were coming out of the woodwork. Oh my God, we're so proud of you, because they know that was the disease. That wasn't who I am, you know? So that's when I was like, fucking, I was pumped about it, and I just kept going with it. And now I'm almost at 10,000 followers. Fuck.
Yeah.
And that's like peanuts to some people. But for me, I'm like, holy fuck. That's crazy.
Yeah. As many people, you're always going to upset somebody, you know, and I'll even end it with this too. Like, getting the ban for a little bit on TikTok or whatever. Like, I was talking about it on the show last night in Quebec, and I said to him, like, I had a fiance that was my childhood best friend. She committed suicide. She was bipolar, schizophrenic, alcoholic.
Yeah.
And I'm blamed for it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm openly blamed for it as an enabler, because I was a drug addict at the time.
Yeah.
And you know what? I didn't cause anything to, you know, for her to do that.
But
I was trying to keep her alive.
Probably,
yeah. I was trying to keep her alive as long as I could. I loved her to death. That was my best friend. She was my partner in crime. You know what I mean? The person I trusted most.
Yeah.
We were childhood best friends. A lot of people turned their back on her because they didn't know how to, you know, have somebody in their life that was bipolar, schizophrenic, because mental health was still so new. And it was still such a stigma in 2012, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't until after she died where mental health was really being talked about more. Because I was really upset by that, because it could have saved her life. But either way, you know, when she took her life, I was really devastated. Obviously, I spiraled into my addiction longer. Now, the way I look at it is, I'm okay with being the bad guy in some people's stories.
Absolutely.
I'm always going to be the bad guy in some stories, but you're going to be the good guy in a lot of people's stories too.
Yeah.
So out of those 10,000 that follow you, some might hate you, but most love you and most appreciate you.
And that's what I keep saying. It's like, I only get it. I thought I was going to get they were going to come for me. It hasn't been that bad. You know, there's the odd one where they're telling me to rot in hell, but the good far outweighs the bad. Like, for me, and people saying they can relate, like, oh my God, you're telling my story from all over the world, these girls. Fuck, if I can help one person, bro, like, I do it for myself, but if I can help her know that she's not alone in this, it's a bonus, right? So yeah, I'm really enjoying it for sure.
Yeah, that's what we do it for, is that feedback, right? Like, there's some days we're addicts, so we look at the numbers. Like, you look at we all look at numbers. We all see the flops, and we're like, fuck. You know, we're addicts. It feeds our dopamine, and that's okay. You know, we're always going to be addicts. It's just about what we're doing, like I said earlier. So, and the numbers can get frustrating, but then you get the comments that reach out, or the messages, the people that relate, and you're like, that's why I keep doing this shit.
That's why I do it.
So I'll put your tag, I'll put your TikTok or whatever socials you want to give me. I'll put them in the description. So whether you listen to this or whether you watched it and you don't already follow Mel on TikTok or whatever, if you're on Facebook, I don't know, then you can go into the description below and follow her journey there too and see more about her there. So thank you so much for opening up and talking and feeling good. I hope you feel good about it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed myself.
Thank you again.
So much.